This video will give you an introduction into entering functions in Maple. Suppose you want to work with the function f of x equals e to the x plus 4. You can store this function in Maple. To create a function, you type the name of your function, f in this case, followed by a colon, an equal sign, your independent variable, x in this case, and then a right pointing arrow, which you can create by typing a dash and the greater than key on the keyboard. Finally, type in the expression for your function. Our function again was e to the x plus 4. Please note that Maple does not recognize the e on the keyboard as the exponential function. So I cannot type the e on the keyboard to get the exponential function defined here in Maple. To enter the function e, you must use either the e template from the expression tab and then type in your desired exponent, or you can use the command exp and then the exponent on the e followed on the same line in parentheses. Our function was e to the x plus 4. Once you have assigned your function in this way, you can begin to use the notation f of x to perform operations with your function. For example, if I type f of x here and hit enter, the computer will return to me the function that I defined. I can now do things like evaluate my function at specific values of x. For example, if I want to evaluate this function at the point x equals 2, I can type f of 2, and the computer will understand that it is to plug 2 in for x in the function f and provide the simplified value. You can also evaluate a function with a command line. You can type eval for evaluate, followed by a parentheses, the name of your function, f of x in this case, comma, and then x equals, and then the value you want x to equal in this evaluation, 2 in this case. Close the parentheses and hit enter. You should get the same value. You can find the derivative of your function by typing f prime is the apostrophe key on the keyboard, of x, and Maple will produce the derivative of x. You can also do this derivative with the command line diff f of x, comma x, and you will get the same result. You can take the second derivative by typing f double prime, note this is typed with 2 apostrophes, not with a quotation mark, of x, or with the command line diff f of x, comma x, meaning take the derivative with respect to x 2 times. You can set your function equal to a value and solve for x by entering something like this. Solve, parentheses, f of x equals 0, comma x. The computer will read this as solve the equation f of x equals 0 and return to me the value of x that would make the function f of x equal to 0. This is the exact value that x would be equal to in order to make the function e to the x plus 4 equal to 0. Note that here, and indeed in all these functions above, including right here and right here, the computer is giving us the exact algebraic value of the function. It is not giving us a decimal value, rounded, that we can interpret on a number line. If you would like that exact answer expressed as a decimal, you can enter the command evalf, parentheses, the percent symbol, close the parentheses, and enter. The evalf command takes the value in the parentheses and returns a decimal approximation. The percent symbol in Maple refers to the last result which Maple returned. So percent here grabbed the value from the previously executed line, and the evalf command converted the prior storage in the memory to a decimal value. Notice here, in this particular case, the value that solved our function was a complex value. You can tell that by seeing the letter I appear in the answer. You can also combine multiple commands into the same line. For example, instead of executing this evalf command on a second line after the solve command, I could have included it on the solve command itself and produced the same result. Something like this. Evalf solve f of x equals 0, comma x, parentheses, parentheses. Following the order of operations, the computer will first compute the solve function and solve for the value of x that makes f of x equal to 0, and then it will evaluate as a decimal the result of that. Notice we get the same answer. You can define multiple functions inside Maple provided they have different names. For example, you could store f of x equals x squared and g of x equals 4 plus x. If you define a new function using the same function name as a function defined prior, Maple will overwrite the original function and use the most recently executed definition. Notice here, I defined this new function f of x to be x squared, even though earlier I defined f to be e to the x plus 4. Now that I've redefined it, if I type f of x, the computer thinks that f is the function x squared, since that was the one I most recently executed. Note that Maple is case sensitive, so you can have a function defined as lowercase f and a function defined as capital F at the same time without any confusion. I hope this video has been helpful in getting you started with using functions in Maple.